All right, so say you wanted to work out some street guys. Like, do you have to fly them to London and meet them at Piccadilly Square and run down the street or something?
Yeah. So we anybody that isn't on our practice squad currently, we've got to fly in, and they're not exactly local unless they've decided to somehow take a vacation, to Europe while we're over here. So it is the same process it normally is. It's just you're not flying them to MSP, you're flying them to one of the 3 airports here and getting them here as fast as possible.
Kevin O'Connell, X's and O's, 9 to noon, FM 100.3, KFAM, and also you can watch it at Vikings.com. Xavier Scott, he seems to be gaining confidence rep by rep, and now he's making guys miss and stuff like that. Is his best current asset in the passing game matched up against certain linebackers? Because he just worked number 6 last game.
Yeah, and that's where we were trying to, he drew a penalty there late in the game. But if he gets a clean release and doesn't get hooked right there by Patrick Queen, he's going to have a chance early in that possession to probably cross the 50 with the ball, and then you're not only thinking about 3 points there, you're thinking about, can we just go end this thing right now? And we were that one play away from doing that. We had another opportunity that I was talking about a little bit earlier, a couple plays later, where we took the intentional grounding penalty.
Yep.
What Zay brings is he's got a natural feel of route running and catching the football, and then he's an explosive athlete. He's got some receiver background in his football journey, so we're going to try to use him in the traditional sense. He's electric with the ball in his hands and kind of has helped us absorb the loss of Aaron Jones with his skill set, and then knowing we want JP to be that kind of bell cow, all down kind of physical presence, downhill runner that he is. So Zay's brought something. He's brought something to the table. It's why he's here. It's why he made our team, and we saw that potentially being a real opportunity for him throughout the course of 17 games this year, knowing that you're inevitably going to have to deal with injuries. And, we feel very strong about what Zay can bring to our offense.
Kevin, how high-end is Isaiah Rodgers playing for you guys? From the words I've used standpoint, calling the game, watching some stuff, he's fantastic. He just seems fantastic.
Yeah, he's, it's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to Flo. It's kind of what we imagined him being. So file that into the category of, I know a lot of folks need to see it to believe it a lot of times, but that was one of the positions that I know I was asked about a lot throughout the offseason, and even after signing Zay, it's what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? That can't be it. And you're in the back of your mind, what's coming if you truly believe in kind of, which I do, Brian Flores and his vision for players. And then ultimately what we saw from a scouting standpoint of where he was at in his career. I'm not surprised about anything he's doing. What I am surprised about is just the momentum he seems to be getting snap in and snap out of. Now we're kind of coming off the playmaking of the Bengals game. Now you're kind of seeing, examples of him being really close to doing that a heck of a lot more than just in that sequence of plays.
Tightening the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and just the consistency factor of it, regardless of the matchup, regardless of who he's lining up across from. And there's going to be some other challenges this week with the Cleveland Browns and Judy and the rest of their skill guys. And I know, Zay's going to be one of the driving forces behind slowing that offense down.
Jalen Redmond, with all due respect to everybody involved, he might be your best defensive lineman through 4 games. What is it from the other defensive linemen you want to see and require to start right now?
Well, I think, there's a level of things go in waves, right, PA? So you want to try to add disruption and an interior pass rush. Well, we still have to be that defense that we need to be on the early downs from a standpoint of defending the run and getting people into these longer yardage situations where the best parts of our defense can come out, whether that's the pressure looks that we bring, the sticky coverage that we have, making them have to get down the field a little bit more to convert third downs, or the Hargraves or the Allen, the interior rush. But you mentioned Jalen Redmond, and I just want to really highlight the fact that this is a player that is still ascending and just growing on a daily basis. We're just now seeing it happen
right
in game action, and he's showing up making a bunch of plays. I mean, I feel like every week I could be showing clips to the team of Red making a play, and last week it was the sacks. The previous week, he made some plays in the backfield, affecting the quarterback, affecting the run game. He's showing up every week, and when you talk about him, Grave, J.A., and then you get into Levi and Ty Ingram-Dawkins, and you see the depth, and an Elijah Williams even getting in there for some snaps. We feel good about that depth. We just need to see a little bit more consistency of guys being able to set edges, stop the run, allow the rest of the guys on the defense to go run and make plays to try to get the offense into some of those down and distances where they've really got to be concerned about negative plays.
A few more for the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, via X's and O's from this beautiful manor outside of London proper. Because Carson got banged around pretty good in the Dublin game. Do you find it, and you played quarterback, so maybe it was you too, do quarterbacks become a little, or do they become gun shy to pull the trigger sometimes when they keep taking hits?
No, I think it's a little bit more, not necessarily pulling the trigger, but it could speed you up a little bit and make you decide that I need to throw this thing maybe a little earlier than I want to, or maybe I need to get off of this first or second progression a little bit faster, and it can just kind of speed up your internal clock. Look, the Steelers, I mentioned earlier, playing the game on their terms. Yeah. That's what happens when you find yourself with the kind of deficit that we did. And early on in the game, we were kind of able to kind of play it to our terms a little bit. They made some adjustments, and then once the injuries kind of happened, we had to try to find different ways to either run the football or protect in either the play action game or the drop back quick passing game, whatever you want to call it. And they just they made a few more plays than we did, and then we were able to kind of retip the scales a little bit later on in our favor, have some explosives in the pass game, move the ball at a good clip, find our way in the end zone and make it a football game. But it was too much of at times things getting away from where we wanted it to be from a game plan standpoint, due to some factors out of our control, but at the same time, what was in our control, that's what we've got to focus on.
A couple on Cleveland here to close. Now it's almost a week here at the Manor, okay? After a weekend in Dublin, where you left last Thursday, got there Friday Dublin time, settled in, played the Steelers. Now we're in London. After that, you get the bye. So it's no time for anybody to be homesick or looking ahead to the potential of a sandy beach with some off time that's well-deserved for a lot of people. Yeah. But human nature also wins sometimes too. So is that on your mind at all, or an absolute non-player with this group?
No, it's my job to make sure I'm communicating that cannot be an option for us. Right. And luckily we've got the type of group that these guys are motivated. They're locked in. They genuinely feel week in and week out like they commit to trying to have the best week of preparation we can, because the 3.5 hours on Sunday are really important to these guys. Yeah. And, so I think we're going to have a good week of prep. We're kind of in a different world now than we were last week from a standpoint of we have adjusted to the time. We are – we are not going to be on buses all over London. We're going to be here. We're going to be practicing here. We're going to be meeting here. We're going to be eating here. Everything's taking place right here, as if we've just moved TCO right here to Hanbury. And that's where the resources that put together these trips and how we have it set up, it's really designed to be the best possible setting for the player. And there's some things, obviously we're in a different country, so there's some things that are going to be outside of the norm for these players, but what's not is they're going to hear from me on Wednesday what I think it's going to take to win the game in the team meeting setting. They're going to hear from Flo and Wes and Matt Daniels from a coordinator standpoint of how we're going to do it in all three phases with great detail and installation of those plays and concepts. And then they're going to get it in the position room setting with their position room coaching. We're going to go practice it right down by the golf course there on a beautiful field down there. And then we're going to come back and we're going to meet and we're going to do the same process that we always do, regardless of the previous week's result.
Yes, sir.
But there is an urgency and there is an attention to detail required when you know that there are some factors, either previously with the result and the process of travel and all that stuff, or out in front of us with those sandy beaches you speak of that we just can't allow that to have any sort of a factor in whether the Minnesota Vikings play well or not on Sunday.
I know you and Browns coach Kevin Stefanski have just a high level of respect for each other,
Yep.
and you guys are both really, really good at taking what you have and trying to win the game.
Yep.
The way with what you have is best to try to win. So, from a Cleveland standpoint, do you think they want to shrink the game and try to win lower scoring affairs with the current iteration of what they have?
Well, I don't know if they necessarily go into it saying that, but with the defense and the way their defense is playing, I mean, it's one of the best front groups in football, led by Myles Garrett, obviously. But I think Delpit's one of the best safeties in football. They've got two really good corners. I think the linebackers are playing well, but everything starts.
That Michigan defensive tackle, Mason Graham.
Everything starts with them along the front of just absolutely penetration and winning the line of scrimmage and trying to do everything in their power to disrupt the flow of your offense. So you've got to try to find a way to play in that world, but maximize your opportunities without exposing yourself to a lot of risk. And with that comes complementary football. Like, we need our defense to get stops, get off the field, give us more opportunities offensively. And then when we get them, offensively, we got to do our job, which is going to be drive the football. We cannot have turnovers. We can't have silly penalties and self-inflicted penalties that cause circumstances to be more difficult by our own doing. And that's what I'm really looking to, get on the grass and coach through this week to make sure we have a great plan to play the game the way we need to play this week to try to beat the Cleveland Browns, and it's going to be a challenge.
You're awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate
you, man.
Appreciate you.
What's up, Vikings Nation? Victor here with Report Vikings, and we've got a bombshell storyline to dive into today. Russell Wilson traded to the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's break this down, because this one has the potential to shake the entire season. So here's the setup. The New York Giants have officially moved on from Russell Wilson. They're handing the keys of their offense to Jackson Dart, looking for a spark because things just weren't clicking with Russ under center. Honestly, I get their logic. The Giants' offense has looked flat, and they're trying to build for the future. But that leaves Wilson in a really strange spot. The guy still believes he can be a starting quarterback in this league, but it was crystal clear he wasn't going to get that opportunity in New York. That's what opened the door for Minnesota to step in. And we did. Now let's talk about the Vikings' perspective here. This move says a lot about where the team stands with J.J. McCarthy. Remember, the organization passed on bringing Sam Darnold back, handed the starting job to McCarthy, and we were all hyped to finally see him after he lost his rookie season with that knee injury. But let's be real here. McCarthy has struggled. He's flashed a little, but the accuracy issues, the turnovers, and now the ankle injury have made it clear he's not ready to carry this team right now. In steps Carson Wentz, and honestly, Wentz has looked solid filling in, but are we really trusting Carson Wentz for a 17-game grind and hopefully a playoff push? I'm not so sure. That's why bringing in Wilson makes sense. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Victor, Russ hasn't been the same since Seattle. Why should we even want him? And that's a fair question. Look, Wilson's Denver stint was a mess, and his short time with the Giants didn't exactly light the league on fire either. But here's the thing, he's still a capable passer. Last year with Denver, he threw for over 3,000 yards with 26 touchdowns and just 8 interceptions. That's not elite Russ, but it's a far cry from washed up. For the Vikings, this move does two things. Stabilizes the offense. Wilson is experienced, and with weapons like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, he doesn't have to be vintage Russ. He just needs to distribute the ball and avoid costly mistakes. Mentorship for McCarthy. Russ is a veteran with playoff experience, and whether you like him or not, he knows what it takes to win in the NFL. Having McCarthy sit behind Wilson for the rest of this season could actually accelerate his development instead of throwing him into the fire before he's ready. The big question now is cost. What did Minnesota give up? The Giants reportedly wanted to clear salary and get some kind of draft capital in return, but Russ also has a no-trade clause, so he had to sign off on this. Clearly, he believes Minnesota gives him a real shot at starting and competing. So let me put this to you, Vikings fans. Do you like this move for Russell Wilson, or would you rather ride it out with Wentz until McCarthy is ready? And do you think Russ can actually help us contend in 2025, or is this just a stopgap? I'll tell you this, I've got mixed emotions. Part of me worries about Russ being past his prime, but another part of me thinks pairing him with Jefferson and Addison could revive his career. And hey, if it buys McCarthy time to grow, maybe it's worth it. Drop your takes in the comments. Smash that like button if you're fired up about this wild move, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a second of Vikings news here on Report Vikings. This is Victor, and I'll say it loud. Skol, baby!